Now, we have to do it. We have to do some comment on what's happening in the Middle East at the moment. And the best starting point is to have a look at what President Trump had to say after his attacks on the Iranian nuclear facility.
A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. It was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier.
Well, Ben, I don't know whether that fills you with confidence. And the question is, who is the terrorist or the bully operating in the Middle East? Certainly, Americans got the weight of the military power in that area. But Trump being very upbeat, we don't yet know what the strikes actually did. And there's now more debate over whether they were successful or not. But nevertheless, that's how he announced it. Now, what was he talking about? This little video clip does explain the use of the American bunker busting bombs, but also we've got mainstream reports being confused with films. This is a truly scary report, as it shows us how pitiful American mainstream media has got. Let's have a look at this Fox report.
Yeah, so what we're looking at here is we're being told this is, I think, anywhere from just shy of 200 to 300 feet in depth. There are all kind of reports out there of 1,000 foot, but I think that's more propaganda. So what you end up doing is, if you saw the movie, the latest Top Gun movie, eerily enough, this is that plot kind of coming to fruition in real life. It's not just one bomb, it'll be a bomb after a bomb to get through that penetration.
And just lastly, that's what you're talking about. Can penetrate up to 200 feet below the surface. And then, of course, we'll see it try and put the second one in there and go down in there. Yeah. Let's bring in David Burke, our Top Gun and former Top Gun instructor, retired U.S. Marine Corps officer. Now, David, I don't know how well we did that, but you know this better than anybody. Talk to us about, questions over whether or not this can successfully be done.
Joey Jones just crushed that explanation. You guys hit the nail on the head. So really well done. This absolutely can be done. There is not a cave in the world deep enough to defend itself against the American military if it needs to hit it. And you described the weapon system and the aircraft and the mating of that exactly right. Now, this is a hard problem to solve, but it is absolutely a solvable problem with this system.
Well, there was a comment in our chat box, pathetic, but highly dangerous. We're mixing films. We seem to regard this as a fun report. It's exciting, these bunker busting bombs. But we've seen other reports where in the media, people have been saying, well, it was a bit disappointed because we didn't detect any radiation links. We're dealing with mad people here. They don't know whether they're living a film or real life. Well, against that backdrop, what did Keir Starmer have to say? Let's look at our flaccid Prime Minister in action.
President Trump has said future attacks would be far greater and a lot easier. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran, greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Iran has said the events overnight will have everlasting consequences. Do you agree escalation seems very real? And are you prepared to offer military support, UK military support, if needed?
Well, my focus is on de-escalating the situation. I accept your challenge that there is a risk of escalation. That's a risk to the region. It's a risk beyond the region. And that's why all our focus has been on de-escalating, getting people back around to negotiate what is a very real threat in relation to the nuclear programme. In relation to the UK, we were not involved in the attack. We were given due notice, as we would expect as close allies to the US. And we have been moving assets to the region to make sure that we're in a position to protect our own interests, our personnel and our assets, and of course those of our allies.
Well, there we are, Ben. Prime Minister Peace. He's been doing everything he can to wind down the wars, whether it's Ukraine or with Israel and the Middle East. He's simply been there pushing for peace, didn't get involved in the American attacks. The British intelligence services not involved. I'm very sure they would have been, because the Americans would have actually appreciated some advice. And but there he is. This is what he says to the public. It's truly outrageous that he can say these sorts of things. Don't know whether you want to comment on that.
Ineffectual and out of the loop, I think, I would say, with Starmer. It looks like he's had his hair done, though. Maybe he was with his stylist over the weekend.
Well, I'm also going to repeat again, when he makes these statements, you don't know whether he's speaking as Prime Minister of the UK, or he's talking on behalf of the World Economic Forum, or he's giving the line required by Israel. We simply do not know who this man works for. Now, let's get into the serious reports. And this is the Iranian foreign minister talking about the attack.
Iran condemns in the strongest terms the United States' brutal military aggression against Iran's peaceful nuclear facilities. It is an outrageous, grave, and unprecedented violation of the fundamental principles of the Charter of the United Nations and international law. Well, I think it is irrelevant to ask Iran to return to diplomacy, because we were in the middle of diplomacy. We were in the middle of talks with the United States when Israelis blew it up. And again, we were in the middle of talks and negotiation with Europeans. Happened only 2 days ago in Geneva, when this time Americans decided to blow it up.
So what he's saying there, absolutely accurate. Iranian at the peace negotiations when they were attacked. No ifs or buts. Now, the following, or the next piece of video clip is from Scott Ritter, an absolutely fantastic statement and analysis of what's actually just taken place. Let's hear what Scott Ritter has to say.
Is marking the anniversary of German perfidy. The world was experiencing American perfidy, that America was involved in engaging in a illegal act of aggression against Iran. And the question is this the kind of new threat that we are talking about? And as an American, this new threat doesn't manifest itself from Iran. It manifests itself from within. What are the traditional values of the United States? We are a nation defined by the rule of law, as established by the Constitution. And when we speak of how we apply on the global scene, understand that the Constitution has in it a clause that says when the United States Senate has ratified a treaty that has been signed by the president, that becomes the law of the land. And I want to remind people that the United Nations Charter is a de facto treaty that has been ratified by the Senate of the United States, signed by the President of the United States, and therefore the United States is constitutionally obliged to comply with the laws that are set forth in the Charter. And one of the principal things is that you will not carry out, there's only two conditions under which a nation can go to war. A nation can go to war if the Security Council of the United Nations has enacted a Chapter 7 resolution under the Charter authorizing military force to be used to resolve a specific threat to international peace and security. No such resolution exists today regarding Iran. The other one is that a nation can carry out legitimate self-defense if they have been attacked, or if they are confronted with the imminent threat of violence, they are allowed to preemptively act to eliminate the imminent threat, but then they are obligated to go to the Security Council to once again turn this situation over to the international body for ultimate resolution. The United States has not been attacked by Iran, and there's nobody that can articulate the potential of such an attack. People who seek to do so by talking about Iran's emergence as a nuclear threshold state forget that at the time of the Israeli attack and the American attack, Iran was at the negotiating table, negotiating a resolution to this issue that eliminated any notion of them not only being a threat, but an imminent threat.
A lot to discuss in that clip, but the key thing is he's saying we need to look inside America for the problem. And of course, the same situation here in UK. We need to look inside UK to understand what is really happening, the decay inside UK that is then fomenting these overseas wars. We'll talk about this more in UK Column Extra, but let's have a look at this last clip. This is Senator Bernie Sanders, who was speaking at a rally when he heard the news about the American strike. Listen to what he has to say and listen to the reaction of the audience.
This is a statement from Donald Trump, quote, "We have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran," etc. And I want to tell you something. Not only is this news that I've just heard, the second alarming that all of you have just heard, but it is so grossly unconstitutional. All of you know that the only entity that can take this country to war is the U.S. Congress. The president does not have the right.
So a senator here picking up on the key point. Trump is out of control. Keir Starmer is out of control. If we're going to deal with the situation overseas, we've got to deal with what is going wrong inside our own countries, and we must not lose sight of that. We'll discuss these points a lot more in UK Column Extra, which will be after the news for members of UK Column. But in the meantime, what have we got to say to our audience? A huge thank you for everybody who's taken out a membership and is supporting us financially, because we can only do what we do with your financial support. Everything that UK Column is doing is funded by members, long-term members and supporters, and some of them very generous. So we are here because of our support. If you like what we're doing, come on board with that support and sign up for a membership. Thank you very much. Now, tomorrow, going out at 1 o'clock, is an interview I did with Debbie Richan. It's on the subject of parental alienation. But Debbie's been doing a lot of good work to help mothers and I believe some fathers that have been through this appalling experience. She calls herself the Relationship Phoenix. Fascinating interview, and I have to say this lady's doing some really, really good work in the background, so join us for that. Now, Debbie, Diane, apologies, bring you in here because you're going to give us a report on the written material for UK Column, and we've got a couple of articles here.
Yes, thanks, Brian. There's 2 new written articles that were just published this morning on the UK Column website. This one is part 1 of 3 parts that Professor Gloria Moss, who you might remember from her really good article in the Fabian Society from a few weeks ago. She's now doing a 3-part series for us on post-truth in different contexts. So this is part 1 of 3. This one is about science and medicine and post-truth. So take a look at that article if you have a chance. It's really, really very interesting and gives great information in there. And the other one that we've published this morning is the 3rd part in the Baking and Financial series from Jobst Landgribe. And this one is about Bitcoin and questioning whether it is a Ponzi scheme. So it gives us some really good information as well about Bitcoin and how crypto assets work in general. And of course, parts 1 and 2 have already been published. And one of those was about how central banks work. And one was about central bank digital currencies or CBDCs. So these are for members only by Dr. Landgribe. So if you're not a member, please sign up so that you can take a look at his articles. They're very good.
Okay, Diane, thank you very much for that. And also a reminder to people that we'll be having our on-location event on the 18th of October in York. Now, people are saying, when will you tell us about the tickets? Very soon, there will be an announcement about when tickets will be on sale. Be patient, it is coming, but we're really looking forward to meeting people at that event, because mixing with the UK column audience and supporters is a wonderful thing for both sides, for us and for you. You've all said you enjoy being there and chilling out with other people, discussing what's happening in the world, also making friends and enjoying the ambience. So do come to that York event if you can. If you're further north or north of the border in Scotland, that's there for you. And as I've said before, we want this one to be a success, because if York is a success, we will commit ourselves to the weekend event for UK Column's 20th anniversary next year in 2026. Now, coming up at the weekend, we've also got Sounds Beautiful Festival in Wimborne, Dorset. UK Column team are going to be there. I'm told the weather is going to be good. So we look forward to that event and meeting everybody who comes along. We will see you there. Now, we've also got a Celebrating Freedom of Speech event at Glastonbury, which our own Sandy Adams will be there with Clive de Carle, so that's very exciting. Richard Vobe's also speaking, but if you can get along to that event, I'm sure it'll be very good. And here we've got Regional Sovereignty and Devolution, Dissident Meetup Southwest Region. That's Exeter, Sunday the 20th of July, and Sandy will also be a speaker at that. So if that's people getting out and about to spread the word on what's happening and to warn people and support people in these very strange